This is what I want now. No, I won't settle for anything else. I can't keep pretending. It's not getting to me. It's never ending. Can't give you what you need. Oh no, no. You're misbehaving. Yeah, it's getting to me. It's never ending. You can give anything, so you can go, go, go. Go, 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 go. Yeah, so I can focus. I just need to focus on myself. Oh, you better go, go, go. Go, 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 go. Yeah, so I can focus. I just need to focus on myself. Yeah, so you can go, go, go. Go, 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 go. So I can focus. I just need to focus on myself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You better go, go, go. Go, 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 go. So I can focus. I just need to focus on myself, baby, baby. Hear it on the phone. If you got something to say to me, then say it to my face. What it's all about, why you're bailing out. Think you owe me an apology. Just say it to my face. You're sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry.
something to say to me, then say it to my face. What it's all about, why you're bailing out. Think you owe me an apology. Just say it to my face. You're sorry. You're so sorry.
Join our membership program, sign up, find out what's going on, become a patron, and support our work. We're doing these amazing virtual live streams covering events, marches, protests, and actions that mainstream media just isn't covering.
A lot of these very common sense policy interventions aren't given the space they need.
You know, the truth is, before we have the political revolution, we need a media revolution.
We really see this opening in the media space with television transitioning to the internet in particular. Streaming platforms, Netflix, Hulu, etc., are the next frontier.
And we're not mainstream media. You're not getting a 10-second clip and a very watered down, whitewashed version of what's going on.
Having a media company to support these kind of movement efforts is extremely valuable.
People want to talk to us because they know that we're talking to the people.
We need a dedicated, empowered, honorable base of people who are willing to fight for what they believe in.
This needs to be all of us, not just like watching great content, not just sharing great content, but taking the correlated action and making sure that together these movements are more effective across the board.
We are amplifying activists' messages, activist movements, activist campaigns, activist call to action. There's no more important work to be done in this country right now, and ACT TV is doing it, and we need you to be a member. Go to ACT.tv and sign up to be a member today.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Good morning and welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show. We're going to go now to our guest this morning,
State Senator Floyd Griffin from the great state of Georgia. He is a candidate for the Secretary of State position, and he is well acquainted with the issues that we're discussing in Ukraine, along with familiarity with some of the troops that are now being deployed to neighboring countries. Good morning, Senator Griffin. How are you?
Good morning, my friend Ben. It's good seeing you again, sir. Thank you for having me this morning.
The pleasure is certainly ours. It's definitely good to see you. Would you help tell us, help us to understand your connection to the troops that are now being deployed to neighboring countries in support of what's happening there in Ukraine?
Well, I served in the Army for 23 years, serving when I retired as a colonel. I commanded construction engineer battalion at Fort Stewart, Georgia, during that time, although that was many years ago. And that was under the 25th, the 24th Infantry Division. Now that was a reorganization, and it's the 3rd Infantry Division at this time. So those soldiers of one of the brigades shipped out to Europe here recently. And I also had connections with a National Guard engineer battalion that was a partner to me to work with to make sure that they were ready for combat. And that brigade has deployed also to Europe.
Mm. If you would tell us a little bit about your campaign, because to me, there are ties to Russia. There are ties to the importance of the January 6th Commission. You're running for Secretary of State. Tell us about your campaign and your experience and why it is that people should give you a look.
Well, let me first, tell people a little bit about me. I am a Tuskegee University alum, and the reason I mention that because it ties into the election portion of the responsibilities of the Secretary of State. And I spent 23 years in the Army, flying helicopters in Vietnam, command and engineer construction units in Vietnam and throughout the country, and in major leadership roles and executive positions, which is the Secretary of State is all about being a corporate level responsibility. So with my background and the areas that the Secretary of State is responsible for, elections, securities, licensing, cooperation, small businesses. See, my family owned several businesses over the years, and I spent 28 years with the last business, which was a funeral service business, where I'm a licensed funeral director and a licensed embalmer. I was also the first African-American state senator for the 25th district. Also the first African-American mayor of the old capital city of Millersville, Georgia. So I'm not a senator presently in a Senate position. I am a former state senator.
Former state senator, and listening to the list of things that you just enumerated, the experience speaks for itself. I want to shift a little bit now to the importance of that particular seat because of January 6th. I try to impress upon my audience and to the broader Black community that I firmly believe that January 6th was just a test run. They're not done trying to seize. They're not done trying to seize power. And I want to say that first to make sure that that's words coming out of my mouth and not yours. But I would love to hear you talk about the importance of the position of Secretary of State when we talk about 2022 as well as 2024 as Donald Trump tries to get back in power.
Well, here in Georgia, the legislature passed in the governor signed Senate Bill 202, and it became law. And that bill disenfranchised and suppressed the votes of African Americans. See, I think that bill was all about African Americans, because if African Americans had not gone to the polls to vote in the numbers that we did, then we would not have a President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris and the two senators from Georgia, which made sure that we had a majority in the U.S. Senate. Now,
that's right.
And how this ties in with me getting involved, my Congressman Jody Heist was one of the insurrectionists. Okay. And he's Donald Trump's a wingman, if you want to call him that, to run for Georgia Secretary of State as a Republican. That's one of the reasons.
Let me, if you don't mind me, let me jump in there, because that is a key character. Jody Heist, tell us more about that person, because they're running for the same position from the Republican side, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
This is a person that Donald Trump wants to put into power in the state of Georgia. Talk more about that.
Right. Well, see, Jody Heist served in the military. Jody Heist took the same oath of office that I took. Okay. I took the oath of office 9 times as a military officer. Each time I was promoted to the next grade, and 3 times as a elected official. Twice when I was the senator, and once when I was the mayor of Millersville. Now, why do we want to have a Secretary of State who has gone along with the big lie? And we got to get back in. You got to have a person like Floyd Griffin. See, because I can go toe to toe with Jody Heist or any other individual who may be the Republican nominee for the general election. So it hurt me very badly when the insurrection happened, and then when Jody Heist jumped in the race. See, just on the election side, I go all the way back to Tuskegee in the 60s during the Civil Rights Movement and the election side of the House. The first student killed in the Civil Rights Movement was a Tuskegee student and a classmate and a friend of mine. And the first Black sheriff elected in the Deep South, and maybe in the United States, but I know in the Deep South, was also a Tuskegee student, came out of the Marines, came back to Tuskegee, which is Macomb County, and ran for sheriff. I worked on his election also. So I have been out in the field for over 50 years. Over 50 years dealing with issues of not allowing Black people and making it tough for us just to be able to enjoy this freedom that we have in the democracy here in this country. And our democracy is attacked now, not only here in this state, but throughout the country.
That's right. That's right. And that's the part for me is, sometimes people think that, nah, that's not really happening, right? We have these conversations about all of these groups, the 3 percenters, the Oath Keepers, all of these right-wing, reactionary, paramilitary groups, rather, that are organizing to do this again. But it doesn't seem like a lot of people understand the urgency. Let's just talk about their goals. The people who went on January 6th, as well as the people who are going to be trying to influence the Secretary of State position. They really do mean to steal democracy from us. Would you agree with that?
Well, I totally agree with you. There are some things, there are some legislation in the Georgia General Assembly as we speak that continuously making it difficult if those legislation pass and become law for Black and other minorities to be able to vote. It's going to be just roadblocks put in place to suppress and disenfranchise African Americans.
So they're coming for democracy itself. And so then if Donald Trump is able to put his henchmen into this position, Jody Heiss, if Donald Trump is able to put that person into this position of Secretary of State, then what he was unable to accomplish last time around, he will be able to accomplish this time around because he would have his due boy in that position of Secretary of State of the great state of Georgia. Am I hearing that correct?
What you're hearing that is absolutely correct. We might as well get ready to go back into the 60s when I started school at Tuskegee and back during the civil rights movement. And not only that, it's more than the election side of the house. It's the corporate side of the house, or the small business, the trades, and all of that. And we need to pay a lot of attention to that, especially for small businesses or minority businesses. And one of the things that I'm going to do is set up a satellite office for me at a location that the Secretary of State has down in Macon, Georgia, where I will spend several days a month there to monitor that part of the responsibilities of but anyway, I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no. We've got it. Former State Senator Floyd Griffin, candidate for Georgia Secretary of State. Listen, tell everyone how they can get more information on your campaign and support you.
Thank you very much, sir. You may go to my website, floydforgeorgia.com. Floyd for F-O-R Georgia, spell.com. And the way you all can help me is go on that website and there's a donation button, and please make a donation to our campaign. We need every dollar we can get. And you can go on and view that website and find out more about me and my platform.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time this morning, sir. I want to do a hard shift back to domestic politics and bring in our first guest, Harrison Tuttle, as Executive Director of Black Lives Matter in Rhode Island PAC and Black Lives Matter Northeast PAC. He is a Rhode Island political candidate for General Assembly in Cranston, Rhode Island. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you today?
I'm good, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for joining us. I wanted to discuss with you the broader conversation of gerrymandering, but how it has impacted your campaign and your city specifically, and the political climate. We are in a redistricting year, and I know COVID-19 has distracted a lot of us from the census, but we are now feeling the impact of the redistricting. Tell us what's going on in your district.
Yeah, well, here in Rhode Island, although it is a Democrat-controlled state, it's deeply corrupt and entrenched with who do you know system, in which this current gerrymandering that went on here in Rhode Island just a couple of months ago resulted in numerous progressives being redistricted, and in my case, by 2 streets, into a completely different city here in Rhode Island. And so the committee was made up of appointees that were picked by the Senate president, that was picked by the Speaker of the House, Joseph Cicarci. And, although I wish I could say this is the first time, 20 years ago, this happened again. And so what we're up against here, Ben, is deeply conservative General Assembly leadership and politics. And as you see on the screen here, progressives who are running for office, like Cynthia Mendez statewide, and even candidates that are running against the Senate president himself, Lenny Sio.
I'm looking at this video of you speaking on the screen. You also had a Twitter thread that caught my attention. You said you've been hesitant to speak on this issue as you often try to see the best in people, and you are open to working with most anyone in the pursuit of equality and liberation. However, you feel like you cannot avoid sharing your thoughts on this matter any longer. You went on and said the redistricting process has been completely untransparent and controlled entirely by two officials that you listed there. After the preliminary maps came out, you rallied dozens of people to testify against the blatant gerrymandering that was being forced on your district. What recourse, if any, do the people have with this type of redistricting in this late hour?
Well, it's simple, Ben. The solution is elect a new multiracial slate of progressive candidates in the General Assembly to get a progressive majority. And that's kind of where I want to transition into the Rhode Island Political Co-op. They're a nonprofit organization that helps train and recruit new candidates to run for office who have no experience in the political realm, but want to run off a shared platform that makes a difference and makes a government work for working class people.
No, absolutely. Tell us more about that. Tell us more about the difference, because one of the things you said at the beginning of this conversation, you highlighted the while the state is run by Democrats, it is still conservative leaning in some ways, and this power grabbing, power control is not being implemented by Republicans per se, even though we do see that happening around the country. I want you to really talk about the distinct differences between a progressive slate that is a challenge to power versus the power that holds power right now.
Absolutely. Well, I think when we look at Rhode Island specifically, it's a very small state. It's the smallest state in the country. And when we look at the elected officials that hold the seat, oftentimes those are passed down. I go to the Senate President Dominic Ruggiero, who got his seat nearly 30 years ago from his own father. And so when we're talking about being able to uproot a foundation of corruption and that entrenchedness that I was speaking about, these people that are elected for decades have been in an office without challengers. Because no one would dare to challenge them. And so when we run off a platform that is progressive, that does call for significant changes to healthcare, criminal justice, policing, and we could get into the fight for the repeal of Leobor, which is restricting police accountability when officers conduct misconduct here in Rhode Island. These types of issues that are being talked about are foreign to them. And the dynamics of the Democratic Party and the platform that the National Party even runs on is not consistent with the Rhode Island politics that we see here today.
So there's an inherent clash that's going on. I also want to ask you about the co-op, because you are connected with Senator, and excuse me, the name, she's escaping me, but Cynthia Mendez. She did a homeless protest, was it last year? And we had a chance to interview her. Tell us about your connection with her and the overall spirit of, the overall spirit of the co-op.
Absolutely. Well, I first want to say that the Sleep Out RI I participated in, and it was very personal to me. As someone who has been homeless multiple times due to lead poisoning and toxic mold, I know exactly what it's like to literally go to school and not know where you're going to sleep at night. And that's happened twice. And so when I was offered by Cynthia Mendez the idea to get faith leaders and get members of our unhoused community to sleep out and demand that people cannot freeze to death at night. My relationship with Cynthia was prior to that with BLM RI and us endorsing her to not only get elected, but do the great things that she's doing. And so the Sleep Out RI really put out a lot of pressure on this General Assembly. And it's sad, and it says a lot that people have to sleep outside the State House for over 2 weeks in order for them to provide something like 400 beds, and then not say that we had any impact on it.
Wow.
This is what we're up against.
Wow. Brother, tell us about your campaign. And I see your website, harrisontuttle.com. Tell us about your race and why you are the person for that position.
Well, although I haven't announced because of me being redistricted, I do plan on continuing to run and plan on announcing very soon. But what I'm running off of is a campaign that is for us, for working class people, for people that look like me of all different ages. I'm running off of a $19 minimum wage. For too long throughout the country and in this state, people have just been okay with struggling. The members of the General Assembly have just been okay with people in poverty. You cannot live off of a $15 minimum wage. And the reality is that in order for us to actually address the root causes of poverty, we can't be treating the symptoms. We have to look at what is directly impacting people. And so that's why I'm running off of a $19 minimum wage to make a livable wage. I'm running off being able to provide health care for all, which Senator Miller, who redistricted me, voted no for. And so I know that there are many questions around where I'm going to run, but I can assure you that I'm going to take my lived experiences and bring that towards the campaign and bring that to everyday Rhode Islanders who are not just supporting the wealthy, but are actually interested in improving everyone, not just a select few.
Not just a select few. Harrison Tuttle, Executive Director, Black Lives Matter Rhode Island PAC and the Black Lives Matter Northeast PAC, and also candidate for General Assembly. You can check him out at harrisontuttle, TUTTLE.com. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, brother.
Thank you so much, brother.
I want to shift gears and go to a story that's coming out of Washington, D.C. This is a story that is being brought to us by a friend of the show, Chuck Modiano. We will have him on to discuss this further as soon as we get a chance to schedule him. But he's bringing to our attention a strike that is forming at Howard University. Now, one thing that we do at the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show, like it or not, and all the other shows, is two things. Is we always shout out and acknowledge our HBCUs. And we also support labor. So this is a good intersection of a clash between one of our HBCUs, which we love. We still love you, Howard. But the teachers, the professors there have an issue. Tensions on campus of Howard University seem to be stemming from frustration from a non-tenured track faculty members who have said that Howard is not doing enough to allow them to be successful at their jobs. Now, we have footage and we'll play it in a moment, but I want to read a little bit more from news1.com, who's doing this original reporting. The main concerns from the educators center on adequate pay, job stability, and appreciation for the work that they do. And they teach Howard students every single day, according to the interviews that we're going to listen to, some by Chuck Modiano. The instructors have sent a proposal to Howard administration that was also signed by tenured track professors in conjunction with the non-tenured track professors. So you have solidarity with the professors who are tenured and who are not. I want to take a listen to this clip provided by Chuck Modiano of one of the protesters who's bringing attention to what's happening at Howard University. Let's take a listen in.
The university's leadership has made clear that a better working environment and a better learning environment is unimportant to them. We were scheduled to meet with the leadership again on March 18th, that's this Friday, but they have gone silent. We have been left with little choice. If the leadership of this university does not reach an agreement with us on March 18th, this Friday, then on Wednesday, March 23rd, on Thursday, March 24th, and on Friday, March 25th, the Adjuncts Union and the Lecturers Union, in alliance with SEIU Local 500, we will be holding an unfair labor practice strike. We are calling on our tenured and tenure track colleagues to stand with us and honor our picket lines during the strike. We're calling on our students, alums, and all of the HU community to support us in our effort to overcome the unfair labor practices of university leadership and to better the university as a whole. We ask you to stand with us in solidarity. We seek to stand with you in solidarity. Like I said earlier, these have been individual fights for far too long, and we have not seen the movement any of us need. So now we all need to come together and get the movement that we require. Thank you.
Now, a few of the supporters at the demonstration said that Howard University was not negotiating in good faith, and that the educators, or rather negotiating in good faith with the educators, and that a huge aspect of the institutional dysfunction was falling on these professors, and they were being asked to pick the pieces up. And then again, also shout out to Chuck Modiano for that clip. You can follow him on Twitter at Chuck Modi, MODI1, to get more information on this. We'll have him on the show next week. But I also want to give a shout out to the SEIU local, I believe he said local 100, who is helping organize this strike. We at the show, we stand in solidarity with labor, no matter where we find it. Workers, wherever you are around the world, need to stand in solidarity because, as our last guest was saying, we're fighting for 15 an hour. Truth of the matter is, you could barely get by on 15 an hour in most cities across this country, metropolitan cities most certainly. 19 an hour sounds reasonable if it was caught up with the efficiency of the American worker. If minimum wage matched the efficiency of American workers, minimum wage would be $24 an hour or $27 an hour. It's certainly more than 19, certainly more than 15, certainly more than the $7 that you get now that's minimum wage. So we stand in solidarity with all teachers, with all workers, including teachers. I want to play this clip from Georgia Fort's coverage of the Minneapolis teacher strike. This is something we've been covering for some time here on the show because Georgia Fort has provided the footage. This is the teacher strike 1 week later. Let's take a look at it.
I used to be an ESP myself. Now I'm a special ed teacher. So I knew how hard it was. We all want to be back with our kids, but in order to move forward, we have to be out here. We got to continue to be strong, no matter what the weather is.
Don't have childcare, but I still wanted to come out and support everyone. So
Union strong, union proud, everybody say it loud.
I'd rather be in school right now, but I'm striking for my kiddos.
Kids of color and white kids need to regularly be taught by educators of color if we want to realize an anti-racist Minneapolis.
That's incredibly powerful to see different faces, people of different ethnicities, different backgrounds, different genders, all coming together for a common cause. And really that common cause is the children of Minneapolis. I'm a dean of behavior support staff. We don't make much. You can literally go to Target and make more than what I made. So it's not about, for me, it's not about the wages. It's about being equitable and being fair and being able to increase the quality of education for our children.
Again, now that's a clip provided to us by Georgia Fort. She's not with us today, but we definitely want to thank her for that continued coverage and her team that is there in Minneapolis in the freezing temperatures. You can see the pictures. Not only is Georgia Fort and her team on the front lines of all these issues, but those teachers are organizing in the freezing, frigid temperatures because they need fairer working conditions. And they are in negotiations now. Here's the thing, folks, if you've ever been a teacher, God bless you. That's all I can say about it. I've been a teacher. I taught for many years in several different states, or rather several different cities. And I can tell you that the pay is not commensurate with the requirements. It's just simple. I mean, just the red tape alone, having all of the certifications that all the trainings, all the extra meetings, the after school trainings that you have to attend, you got to go off campus to go to this meeting and get this instruction. You got to get this mentor. The requirements to be a teacher in the United States of America are so high, but your salary isn't. That's before the pandemic. Now we're in a pandemic and we're seeing how recklessly the schools across this country are treating students and teachers as it pertains to COVID-19. I mean, we really have put our education system in the most precarious position possible. We're asking teachers to pull off miracles when we don't even give them enough money for books. Several schools that I taught at, I had to go and print out copies of pages of the one book that I had and run copies for the students as handouts on multiple occasions. And if that wasn't enough, how many teachers in the audience can tell you that they have spent their own personal money that you know you're not going to get refunded by the school district? You just spend your money on things to enhance your children's education because you want to be a good teacher. I said all that to say solidarity with every teacher around this country. Matter of fact, solidarity with every worker. If you wake up and you clock in, I don't care where you clock in at. I don't care how much money you think you make. If you have to use your physical body to make your living, you need to be standing with the rest of us, standing with labor. Workers of the world, definitely unite. DJ Exclusive is somewhere in the building. He's going to get here. I'm a little early if he's here. Drop the beat. We'll be back with more of the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show after this.
Take a trip on it. When I got you can go slow. Wind it up all night. Baby, take your time. Let me know I want. When you tell me I want. When the neighbors yell turn down. We keep it going. Like bum bum bum. Throw it back then rotation. Cigarettes and the season. Shine bright as that season. Girl, you know you are a gem.
Good morning, people. Y'all know who it is. Good morning to everyone. Y'all know the voice, y'all know the sound. James Williams is in the building. DJ Exclusive is here. Good morning, everybody. Make sure that y'all stay tuned, man. Jam-packed show today that you do not want to miss. So make sure that you stay tuned. Good morning again, everybody. All right, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Roller Dragon, Birdie, good morning. On it goes. Laura Strada, Mary C. Chris Shaw, good morning. Brother Bryce, good morning to you. Alicia, good morning. Brother Tiger, what's going on? Truth and Dragon. Queen Abby, good morning. Jason Marks, what's going on? Brother Tyler, good morning. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. Lady Lou, good morning. Amber, good morning to you. Frankie Graham Jr., good morning. Talk to everybody that's joining us this morning. Make sure that you stay tuned. We got more coming up next on the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show, y'all. Barbara Ebron, good morning. Priscilla, good morning to you. Big Peace, Derek Fuller, good morning. Creative Impact Productions, good morning, man. Hollywood, what's going on? A.R. Walker, good morning. Brother Lateef, man, Lateef, I forgot to hit you up. Please forgive me, brother.
It went a little bit far though.
Good morning, Miss Sophia.
9-6 spot off.
Hey, Miss Sophia.
I didn't drive my car home when I drank that charcoal. Man, I miss my mom so. Ask me how it feels. I say it feels too real. When you pick up speed, towards pitch black wheel. Well, you got your thoughts. I'll be in there deep. What about your heart? The speed too hard, not us. I ran around Lake Tahoe. Not once, don't stop.
Kevin Ella, good morning. Black Dragon, what's going on? Melody Dennis, good morning to you.
Yeah, I called out Carlos. Said I won't be calling. Instead of my old tempo. It wouldn't make much sense, so yeah. Ask me how it feels. I said it feels surreal. When you pick up speed, was pitch black real. When you got your thoughts, all the in that deep. What about your heart?
G-Man, good morning to you.
Would it be too hard, my love?
Kemper got the gasoline. Okay, then we go straight to the Tara G, good morning to you. William Moore, good morning. Iris Jones, good morning to you. Mom and Daddy, good morning. I don't know if y'all up or not yet, but good morning, y'all. Shout out to my mama who started work, I think, next week sometime. Oh, to see her tail down somewhere, but it is what it is. Elizabeth, good morning. Dreambot, absolutely. Roller Dragon, that is not a Dwayne thing, Roller Dragon. Right. They think that you're responsible for the Patreon link, Dwayne. I'm like, that's not a Dwayne thing. Right, Ben. All right, got you. T-Tweety, good morning to you. All right, y'all know what time it is. It's time for On the Clock.
Georgia Fort over on her channel, on her Facebook page. Please be sure to go and check out the original. She put together a video 5 years ago today. Cordell Handy was fatally shot by St. Paul police officers. And here's the thing, man. There's something happening over in Minneapolis, in the Minneapolis area. Like, I know there's shootings everywhere, but it's almost like certain cities are, I don't know, clusters. Like, there's just so many people being killed in the Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin Cities area. And Georgia's been covering most of them for a very long time. Let's take a look at this. It's a long clip, but we're going to cut it a little short. But this is a memorial piece that she put together for Cordell Handy.
And months you carry a baby, you die again giving your baby's life, and you motherfuckers have the nerves to kneel on their motherfucking necks, pump bullets in them, overkill, rob and steal.
My son Cordell, he lived on the east side. He lived on 6th Street. The police was called. From what I'm assuming, they had been in that building earlier for domestic violence. So they said that it was Cordell. It was not Cordell having a domestic violence. It was my son, when they did get there, having a mental episodic attack. And at one point, he even tried to call the police and hung up. And so when he exited out of the back door of the building, he came down here, he walked down here with his dog, sat on the curb, hands up, and they just started running up on him and started shooting, is what happened to my son. But they said that he tried to reach for a gun, but witnesses' testimony is totally different. And the fact that I'm the mother that was on the phone, I'm his mother. He called me, so I heard them kill my child. And it was like within no time of them approaching him, I hear bullets, 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 and then I don't hear no more, and then within 5 to 10 seconds, I hear another bullet. So there was a pause in between that last bullet. Yeah, so no medical attention, no anything. And he died. And in St. Paul, it's a quieter structure. So that was kind of like the structure that Cordell and the environment that Cordell grew up in. You do have some very beautiful people here on the east side, but my concern is not enough of them are involved. We see people involved with George Floyd. We see people getting involved and engaged with Dante Wright. Rightfully so. I'm one of those people too, because a tragedy to one is a tragedy to all of us. And all those black lives that have been lost matter. And I noticed, like, when we came here in March, you had the people come out and stand in solidarity with us. But that's just one day. This needs to happen every day, because every day St. Paul police are killing our people. Let's just be honest. Fumi Lee, Marcus Golden, Jaffrey Smith. There's a lot of people here who died at the hands of St. Paul police. When they take justice, we have to activate Just Us. And it's enough Just Us on the east side to make it happen. And the world sees George Floyd, right? And we could clearly see he was detained in handcuffs, on his stomach, lying on his chest, his breathing constricted, and then to even constrict it more with a knee to his neck. And so people seeing that, and the world seeing it, and even with the world seeing it, they were trying to say, oh, it was gas fumes. Oh, he did drugs. But the drugs didn't kill him before then. That's not what killed him right then and there. We clearly know what killed George Floyd, a knee to his neck. But when we go back in retrospect and we look at people like Cordell and people like Marcus Golden, they had a knee on our neck then. But the only difference is the videos that played out in real time when George Floyd was murdered. Can you imagine what was being done when there was no video, when there was no film? Can you imagine like what mothers like me feel like around the world? When you've done wrong, it's kind of hard, right, to put that out there for the world to see. Had not that little 17-year-old young lady filmed George Floyd, that would have been swept under the rug.
Welcome back. That was a clip put together by Georgia Ford. You can see the entire interview and the entire compilation over on her Facebook page, georgiaford.com. Also, I want to bring back into the conversation DJ Exclusive, as well as brother Pascal from the Pascal Show. I want to say good morning to you, brother. Thank you for joining us, man. How's it going? I know this is a heavy story for you to come in on, but we got to salute you, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. What's up with you guys? What's up, everybody out there, Lions and all that?
Look, man,
what's cracking?
Man, ain't nothing happening but the rent, bro. We just over here just piecing it together, man, trying to keep our heads down. All the sayings black people say.
The rent and also pushing the narrative, right?
Getting right there, it is. That's right.
Reminding people of things that have happened before. that are still happening to this day, right? It's a broken record.
Right.
I say it all the time, but this is a broken record, and it breaks my heart that we're, even 5 years ago, we had something like Cordell happen, and it just goes to show you that we still have a whole lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do because nothing has changed, and with platforms like yours, hopefully push it forward. You know what I mean? So it's heartbreaking to see this kind of stuff, and but I appreciate Georgia Ford. Let me tell you something. That woman's a beast. I'm telling you. I'm sorry. I'm saying it. I'm giving her flowers. I want to give you and DJ Exclusive your flowers as well. Oh, we can't forget the queen. We cannot forget the queen as well. But
you're messing up.
Y'all are.
Can't forget the queen.
Y'all deserve your flowers. Real talk. So, so I appreciate you bringing up this story, or Georgia to bringing this story.
Yeah. No, man, those names get the back of your head, and you start. You don't really realize how many stories. I'm saying this from the journalist perspective because clearly, the families, their lives have been disrupted, like just devastated in ways that we can't even imagine. Right. From a journalism side, after so many years of covering these stories, you pause and you start to think, "Holy crap." I have now personally participated in the coverage of probably over 100 Black people killed by police. And if I started listing the names, you'd be like, yeah, oh man, yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember. And it's just happening so much. So yeah, man. So shout out to Georgia because she has I honestly don't have the backbone or the stomach to cover those stories anymore because they mess with my head a little bit. So we need somebody strong like Georgia to be out there to cover it.
That's right. Even for myself, right? I hate to turn it on a selfish tip, but I totally feel you on that. Because as soon as you get a new, I hate to say this, but a new hashtag, right, that comes out, you're talking about the same story in a way. It's always the same thing, except, the narrative out there in the media or, in certain demographics, if you will, they will try to do everything but call that person, that victim, a man of God or a child of God. They'll name them everything. They'll sit there just like that woman that was just on. I think that was the mother of Cordell.
Yeah. That's right.
Sorry, I just hopped in like in the middle of it. But
that's the mother of Cordell Handy. Yes, sir. You got
it. She's saying the same thing. They will do everything except name that child a child of God. Right. And after some time it's tough. It's tough to tell those stories over and over and over again, especially when it just happens every week. It happens almost every day now. Where
James, I don't mean to interrupt you, Pascal, but James is you're a testament to this because you've been doing this with me now for a year, just over a year. We've been doing the morning show format, bro.
Man,
how many stories?
Like 2 years, man.
It's been 2 years.
We coming up on 2 years, man.
The pandemic.
We started in the beginning of the pandemic.
Damn, we coming up on
2 years.
So in those 2 years,
I was about to say,
have we had to do the same story over and over again when it comes to hashtags and black life, man?
It's been a lot. Like we were on the pinnacle of a lot of it, like from George Floyd to
that's right,
Rashad,
Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery. It's been a lot, a whole lot.
And just to have to cover it, Pascal, you took the word out of my mouth.
Broken record, like I said.
Broken record, yep.
It's a broken record. The saga just continues. It's the same story, just a different name. You know what I mean? And so it's After some time, that's when you start talking about Kanye West. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta
right.
Wait a minute. Wait. You said so that's why every now and then we just say, man, the hell with all this serious stuff.
What's up with
Kanye West?
Kanye.
You got to, because if you don't, then you're gonna go crazy.
Exactly.
Let's start with some domestic stories, man. Like while we're doing all this coverage of Ukraine, stuff's popping off here in the United States. Over in Mississippi, they just passed a bill making it more difficult to discussing race in schools. This is from Governor Tate Reeves of Mississippi. In too many schools around the U.S., critical race theory is running amok. It threatens the integrity of education and aims only to humiliate and indoctrinate. That's why I signed legislation. I signed legislation that will help keep critical race theory where it belongs, out of Mississippi classrooms. But it's BS. But now we have the clip ready. Let's take a listen into this clip.
Now, I can almost guarantee what will happen next. First, critical race theory proponents will claim that this law prevents the teaching of history. They'll claim that our kids won't learn about important historical events like slavery or the civil rights movement. But we know the truth. Contrary to what some critics may claim, this bill in no way, in no shape, and in no form prohibits the teaching of history. Any claim that this bill will somehow stop Mississippi kids from learning about American history is just flat out wrong. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. All elements of Mississippi and all elements of American history, both the good and the bad, should be taught in our schools. Period. I don't know how much clearer I can be. Second, Mississippi will become subjected to an onslaught of insults. There will be false assertions that our state is racist. Our education system will be dragged through the mud and demeaned, despite the fact that our high school graduation rates are at an all-time high and better than the national average. But despite the arrows that will be volleyed at us, we're not backing down. We can't back down. Our kids are our greatest assets, and Mississippi will do whatever we can to protect them.
Really?
So to those looking to tear us down, you do what you got to do. Because at the end of the day, Mississippi will do what's right.
Really?
Thanks, and God bless.
Really? And James, let me give you a few more details before we talk about this cat. Mississippi gonna do what it's got to do. Come on, boy. This is from NBC News. The short title of Senate Bill 2113 says that it would prohibit critical race theory, but the main text of the legislation does not mention or define the theory. And many supporters of the bill have also said they cannot define it themselves. And NBC News went on to say, the new law says no school, community college, or university could teach that any sex, race, ethnicity, religion, national origin, or inherently superior or inferior. I mean, yeah, that's already, it's the trick is in the language. The point is that they don't want critical race theory taught, and so they put critical race theory in a bill without a definition. That leaves everybody and their mama up to define what critical race theory is, and so we're gonna have a big mess in the state of Mississippi, James. As if it's not already a mess over there.
That's what I was about to say. Like, it's not already a mess there. And this Mitch McConnell looking man is just like, I don't understand it. This makes no sense. We're gonna do what we have to do, and let's be honest. A lot of this history and stuff that is going to be taught. It to me sounds like it's going to be taught at a high school level. That's when we start really learning about some certain parts of history. When you really think about it. So these kids, you can't really call them kids no more because they damn near adults when you get to the high school age, and that's when they really need to start learning this information. But if you really think about it, the high school realm is when the most development starts to happen. That's when you start freeing your mind and walking into the personality of who you really are. So I'm just like, why try to take this away from kids? You just want to teach this old basic ass history that we had in school, which was
in 1492.
1492, Columbus held what, Ben? The ocean blue.
Oh, colonizing, disease spreading, saltine, racist, genocide, Christopher Columbus head ass. Take down the on the clock branding. See, y'all go. Shout out to Georgia Ford, who is out saving the world. Y'all gonna learn not to leave me and James here by ourselves because we just don't know how to govern ourselves accordingly, especially when we come up against some ignorance like this, right? So we're talking about Mississippi. Mississippi is, let me tell you a real quick story. When I was in college in Florida, not at Bethune-Cookman, I went to a second school after that. They were surprised to find out that I got my education in Mississippi. They were like, oh, wait a minute, you can actually write. I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, I got a good education in Mississippi, but I was the outlier, James. Like when you consider the condition of Mississippi in general, they're like what, number 5 to last in education, if not worse. Yeah. They are at the bottom in terms of economic strata. Like their citizens. And I'm not even talking about the black folks in Mississippi. We know black people in Mississippi have had it hard since this Mississippi became Mississippi, right? But Mississippi ain't good for white folks unless you're rich, right? And it's not good for the education of any of their population. And so for the governor to get in here and make it seem like he's trying to protect children, when clearly he's just trying to protect children from learning about race, learning about racism, learning about white supremacy, learning about 1619, when the first slaves were brought to this country. That's all he's really, but he's more interested in that than actually helping his kids get a good education in that state. So,
because really, when you think of Mississippi, it's always one of those things where you hear the banjo playing, the buck teeth, the coveralls on.
Oh man, I'm from Mississippi. Now I ain't gonna let you do Mississippi like that. Now wait a minute, James, because you ain't too far from me. You from Alabama too. Now come on, man.
We wasn't that bad though. I was just made out to be just like God dog, man. It's like, welcome to Mississippi.
You're not going to talk about one of my home states like that, man. But yeah,
like that.
Yeah, it's pretty.
But if you think about it, that's always the perception that we were given. It is when we're growing up, and it was so bad. It wasn't until it's just like, oh, there is stuff in Mississippi. There are things to do in Mississippi. People do come from Mississippi. Cool.
It don't help that the governor actually meets all those, all those cliches about Mississippi. Ignorant. Back asswards, I mean, just forget about the country accent. I got a country accent, but it's the country accent on top of the stupidity that really is not making Mississippi look good. Y'all deserve better than Tate Reeves. I tell you that much. Y'all deserve better than that clown. We're going to do this show the way I want to, and I want to laugh. James, play some music, play some trap music. You play gospel. I don't care what you play. Play what you want to play. And when we come back, we're going to turn up a little bit more. We got a couple more guests, but we're going to laugh our way through all these crazy stories, man. It's in your hands, DJ Exclusive.
Absolutely, Benjamin. I got you. But shout out to everybody, man. Make sure that you stay tuned. We got more coming up next on the Benjamin Dixon Morning Show, man. Like it or not, we'll be starting up momentarily. Rebecca should be joining us today, but who knows? Corporate America has been keeping us down way too long.
Keep going on strong like a soldier. I was drunk with life, now I'm sober. So I can't have saying that I told you, I'm sober, I'm sober, I'm sober, I'm sober, I'm
Miss Nuru, good morning to you.
Singing my way. No more fast ones, gotta lead a highway. No more fast ones, gotta
good morning. I kind of feel some type of way because you ain't tell nobody that you were going to Vegas, man. You could have took us with you.
No more fast ones, gotta leave. Speed past the cars on the left-hand side. Better be ready when I step inside. right? Cause it's going down like a slip and slide, slip and slide. Grown folks talk,
Hey, Dwayne,
just be quiet. When
I got a question for you.
Tipsy, right? You the only one that can get me, right? Cause you get me.
Why is it dark spelled with the C? Because you can't see in the dark. I'm here all week, everybody. Please stay tuned. I'm here all week, except Mondays.
No more fast ones, gotta lead a highway. No more fast ones, gotta lead a highway. Ooh, shawty, swing by my
That's just like somebody ripped the 5th month out of my calendar. I am completely dismayed. Good morning to you. I never thought orthopedic shoes would really work for me, but I stand corrected. Oh, and not to mention that I accidentally gave my husband a glue stick instead of lipstick. He still isn't talking to me. I'm just on the road this morning. As long as y'all keep me on this screen, I'm gonna keep on dropping these corny behind jokes. They are so corny.
Ooh, shawty, swing by my way. Left that X-Men, she was singing my way. No more fast ones, gotta lead the highway. No more fast ones, gotta
Environmental Coffee House, good morning to you.
Swing by my way. Left that X-Men, she was singing my way. No more fast
Sydney
ones, gotta
Butler,
lead the highway. No more fast ones, gotta leave.
Good morning, Sydney. Good morning, Teresa.
No more fast ones, gotta leave.
Mary C, good morning.
No more fast ones, gotta leave.
OMW, on my way to you. Good at what I do. I'm OMW. Watch me walk away, putting myself on display. 1, 2, 3 a day. I'm on my way, on my way. I'ma have you on tiptoes, watching my diamond afterglow. I know you want.
Okay, I think it's the last one. Two robbers were robbing a liquor store. When one robber grabs a bottle and asks the other robber, "Is this whiskey?" The other says, "Yeah, but not as whiskey as robbing a bank."
On my way, on my way.
It's like, what are you, 3?
They wanna judge me, I'll testify. Catch me on Insta, I'm verified. They want me quiet, I amplify. I'm on my way to the best thing that you've ever seen. You know that you bow to the queen. You lose all your senses and reason. I'll give you
William Moore, good morning. Bryce, good morning.
OMW, on my way to you. Good at what I do. I'm OMW, OMW, on my way to you.
All right, before we get back to Benjamin Dixon, here's a little known fact that I think a lot of people didn't know. I didn't know this either. Before the crowbar was invented, pros simply drank at home.
OMW.
Welcome back, Benjamin Dixon, y'all.
Nothing left to prove. So enjoy the view. Take it.
Like it or not, with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
James, you can't bring me back on. All right.
I know what I've been doing.
I see how it is. I see it. I've been trying to be prepared to come back and be okay. Nope. I get it. No, thank you for doing your job properly.
Crowbar.
For those of you who don't know, James is not only here for his own, he's here for his own mission. He's got his own calling, and he's here for the work, but he's also here to make sure I don't take myself too seriously. So I just want to appreciate him for messing me up like that, per usual. James, have you been watching this mayor out of New York, Eric Adams?
What has this crazy man done now? I've been out of the loop on the news. I just had to take a mental break from it because it's driving me crazy.
It's been a lot.
Man, it's been a lot.
I was at a dispensary yesterday talking to a guy, and he was telling me the same thing that you just said. I didn't have to give y'all that information. I just wanted to. And he said the same thing. He said after Joe Biden was elected, he just cut off the television, and because he said it was just too much. He said he didn't even want to watch it that long, talking about politics and all the stories and all the news. And he said he's been unplugged for 2 years, and he didn't even realize what all was going on in the world. So I feel you, man. If I can unplug, yeah. No, I'm just
right, man.
I just had a thought. I just had a good thought of what it would be like to not have to worry about the news.
I mean, I thought we discussed, you know what? We ain't gonna talk about that on there, but it's
trying to do it, man. We're trying to do it. It's hard. It's hard.
It's keep calling me. It's calling me.
Right when I get out, they're trying to pull me back in.
And he's trying to pull me back in.
I'm trying to get away from politics. They won't let me. Especially not when you got clowns like the show died a long time ago, man. This is just the afterlife. Anyway, Eric Adams, New York. I was about to say New York, DC. New York City Mayor Eric Adams. We're going to be discussing him with Pascal Robert of the Black Agenda Report and This Is Revolution podcast as soon as he's available. But what has he done? Dwayne, let me know when you get that clip. He's basically, I don't know who this guy thinks he is. Let me just start there. He is trying to present himself as a black man, a Democrat, which I don't care about the Democrat part, whatever, but he ran as a Democrat. But now he is so ultra police, so pro police, which I would argue he's always been pro police. So I don't know why New York would have elected this man, but he's the mayor. He's so pro police. He was talking about bringing stop and frisk back. I think he said he was joking about that, but I want you to listen to this clip as we get ready for our next guest. And he's discussing how he wants to train New Yorkers to respect the police and keep their distance when filming police officers. And he said, if your iPhone is bad, get you a new iPhone because you don't have to get that close to his police officers when they're beating up citizens and you're trying to film it. That's the latest from Eric Adams. He just said it yesterday. Let's hear it from his own mouth.
With policing and other crimes with others, if people are documented, what's your message to the community when they want to document what's going on? We're trying to stay safe, getting guns off the streets.
Without a doubt, and that is one thing that we're going to do. We're going to teach the public how to properly document. If an officer is on the ground wrestling with someone that has a gun, they should not have to worry about someone standing over them with a camera while they're wrestling with someone. If an officer is trying to prevent a dispute from taking place and de-escalate that dispute, they should have someone standing over their shoulders with a camera in their face, yelling and screaming out there at them without even realizing what the encounter is all about. There's a proper way to police and there's a proper way to document. If your iPhone can't catch that picture with you being at a safe distance, then you need to upgrade your iPhone. Stop being on top of my police officers while they're carrying out their jobs. That is not acceptable and it won't be tolerated. That is a very dangerous environment you are creating when you're on top of that officer who has an understanding of what he's doing at the time, yelling police brutality, yelling at the officer, calling them names. Now he has to worry about who's behind him. Is he part of the process that he's trying to de-escalate? That has gotten out of control. You can safely document an incident, but we can use that footage to analyze what happened. But that's not what's happening right now in our city. We're finding people who are standing on top of the officer while he's involved in a dangerous encounter. Not acceptable. It's not going to continue to happen.
He said, yeah, man. He said a lot there. Joining us now to discuss is Pascal Robert. He is of the Black Agenda Report, and this is Revolution Podcast. First and foremost, good morning to you, brother. How are you?
Good morning to you, Brother Ben. Good to be on your show. Good morning to you as well, to your co-host. Glad to have me here.
Good morning. Good morning.
Brother, we've been talking, and you describe Eric Adams as the neoliberal corporate Democrat trial balloon who is sent to crush and smash the progressive wing of the party, the Sanders wing of the party. Now, when I read that, I said yes and amen, and come on the show and talk about it. Tell us why Eric Adams is this new wave of attack against actual progress, not just for people in general, but for Black people specifically.
Well, to do this, I think we have to put things in a certain context of the evolution of Black politics and the Black political class, particularly in the last 20 years, all right? We basically went from a paradigm of the Black political class, and the Black political class, for your audience who don't know, are the elected officials and also the social superstructure that exists in the Black community around civil rights organizations, the Black church, membership organizations, fraternities, sororities, and so on and so forth, that buttress the political establishment as well as the ideological and political choices that exist in the Black community in terms of what kind of options we have. And they basically act as what you would call a buffer class that buttresses support traditionally for the Democratic Party and promotes policies usually to their benefit in exchange for patronage that I pejoratively call fatback and biscuits to their betterment and usually to the detriment of poor and working class Black people. But there has been an evolution in the nature of the Black political class in the 50 plus years post-civil rights, in that the first generation of the Black political class that came out of the Gary, Indiana Convention in the 1970s were traditionally former civil rights affiliated type politicos who, because of working through government programs through the Great Society, developed an affinity and a connection to political administrations in the Democratic Party, and then rose to the level of becoming the first iteration of the Black political class. But because they had to maintain certain credentials with the grassroots civil rights community in the kind of post-Black Power era, they still had to at least have the patina or illusion of a redistributive agenda to Black folk. Right, that's how you get your Maynard Jackson, your Andrew Youngs, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm trying to be quick here because I know what time is of the essence. So I'm trying to go through this lesson. We move into the 80s and 90s in the way in which neoliberalism, which is basically a fancy way for shifting capitalism to hyper-privatization, deregulation of finance capital, and the removing of government-funded policy to the benefit of the population to a more pro-capitalist, pro-private sector agenda to marketize everything. In that era, what we have to understand is that Black politics reflects that change in the nature of capitalism in America. And what we find is our Black political officials, particularly what we call the urban regimes, because, some of your audience may not be old enough, but I'm old enough to remember where in a time where every major city in America had a Black mayor. New York City had Dinkins, you had Howard Washington, you had L.A., had, I forgot the name of I always forget the name of the brother who was mayor of L.A. back in the day. Atlanta, so on and so forth. So there was a proliferation of Black mayors in these cities, but because these cities were basically transforming into a period of neoliberalism where they did not have the same kind of government largesse as they did in the 50s, these guys unfortunately had to oversee much austerity type politics that disadvantaged working class and poor Black people, and also govern over regimes of mass incarceration, because Black people in a period of economic precarity due to neoliberalism, the poor are going to be sacrificed to mass incarceration. Black and white, but disproportionately Black. So that is the first shift of the Black political class away from what we saw in the 70s, where they could at least pretend to have a redistributive agenda, right? And then in the 90s, with the rise of democratic neoliberalism, the black political class pretty much embraces neoliberalism because they're reacting to the fear of the Newt Gingrich Republicans.
That's right.
Bill Clinton is the first Democrat who wins after 3 presidential elections where you have Republicans having won. Reagan 80, Reagan 84, Bush the first 88. And those regimes were so right-wing, and you know this story as well as I do, Ben. The Democratic Party embraces the Democratic Leadership Conference, pivots to the right, supports corporate agenda, tough on crime, tough on black people politics, and takes us into the 25, 30-year spectrum of Democrat-led neoliberal politics that's even worse for black people, quite frankly, right? Okay, so the black political class shifts in that way as well. What we see in the millennium is the rise of the first generation of truly neoliberal black politicians. One of the things my mentor, Bruce Dixon and Glenn Ford, used to talk about is that there was a trial balloon of about 5 candidates to become the first black president, and they all have very similar politics and aesthetics. Cory Booker, Barack Obama, Arthur Davis, Adrian Fenty, and Harold Ford Jr. All elite Ivy League educated or proximate, all very pro-corporate charter schools, all very highly financed by corporate America, all very pro-growth, pro-capitalist, pro-big business type politics, and all using respectability politics, pull-up-your-pants type rhetoric. Very common. Michael Nutter was a Philadelphia manifestation of that politics. So that's like the third iteration of the black political class. And we see what that got us, which is the rise of Obama, which some of my mentors and teachers like Bruce Dixon used to say was the death knell of black politics. So what happens is that we shift from the neoliberal, really pro-capitalist, pro-corporate black politician, which is still in the kind of aura capturing the imagination of black folk. You have a pivot to the rise of Bernie Sanders and the quote unquote Sanders Democratic Socialist, AOC, so on and so forth. Now, though these people don't really capture the imagination of black voters, they present an ideological challenge to all of the earlier manifestations of the black political class, because black people are now realizing these Negroes have not done anything for us. And now you have people like AOC and otherwise are talking about, hey, what about, a more expansive state government program to give you a federal jobs guarantee, a free college, free state college, healthcare, so on and so forth. So even though black people may not be entering into supporting that politics, the challenge of these people seeming more progressive than the black political class creates a conflict. This is a very important point that you must convey to your audience. The black political class, particularly in the Congressional Black Caucus, much of their political legitimacy is premised on leveraging the bona fides of the civil rights movement and the illusion of being racially progressive to give them a voice to actually replicate very damaging pro-corporate black. Corporate politics.
You mean people like Jim Clyburn? Anyway,
exactly.
Go ahead. We were talking about Eric Adams, though. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. So I'm going to get to the point. What does Eric Adams represent? Eric Adams, I would argue, represents the 4th iteration of the black political class, in that he is reacting to the failures of the neoliberal Obama type black political class, the Cory Bookers, the Obamas, Fenty's, Harold Ford Jr.'s, etc. And he's also reacting to the rise of the AOC Sanders faction. And he's basically trying to tap dance between the two while still maintaining a fealty or an allegiance to those same corporate pro-Wall Street, pro-real estate development fact. Don't forget, Eric Adams was one of the most extensively backed real estate development backed candidates in that mayoral election that he won last year. And he's already made statements to Wall Street saying that we need you guys in New York. And there's an article by, I think his name is Chuck Gasparino. He's like one of these Wall Street guys. He's always on Fox News. It's in the New York Post. I was just reading it this morning, preparing for the show, where literally, this is like a New York City white ethnic Wall Street guy who is praising former cop Black Mayor Eric Adams for his willingness to dump all that progressive, left socialist rhetoric crap and support big business and finance capital. And, Gasparino is really one of these blowhard right-wing capitalist types who's like, yeah, I'm glad to see Adams is not down with the comrades. And there's a quote that he has of Eric Adams where Adams literally says, we need more of you Wall Street guys and less of these AOC types.
Wow. Pascal, I want to ask you really briefly with the time we have, man. Where does it go? Because not only is he everything that you listed there, right? And I mean, you gave us a lot, but I followed that thread. I followed what you were saying. Eric Adams is the evolution of, and we can say devolution of the Black political class, but he is himself a reaction to the last
what came before
class, the Black movement that came before.
A reaction of two factors. The neoliberal corporate, the neoliberal Black political class, the Obama Fenty types, and the rise of the AOC progressive Sanders faction. And he's trying to thread the needle between the two.
And he's doing a balancing act also with, it seems to work, right? I guess what I'm trying to throw at you is this twisted combination seems to have been enough, one, for him to get elected. Two, he's using this honeymoon period where he can leverage as much damage as he can, right? He's going as full police, pro-police as he's a former police officer himself, so that makes sense. But he is merging the worst of all of the categories. He's merging the police state with the exploitative nature of capitalism. He's merging it with the facade of blackness, the form of blackness, denying the power thereof. He's like the trifecta of black leadership. Go ahead.
Let me tell you how absolutely spot on you are. And I applaud your astute assessment, which doesn't surprise me because you have very many astute assessments, Ben. Is that,
man, bless you, brother. I appreciate that. Now.
When Eric Adams was running, he was literally being touted by the Black chattering class. And you know me long enough to know when I say Black chattering class, I mean Black media, Black journalists, so on and so forth. The New York City Black chattering class, people like Errol Lewis and others who are very good journalists. Errol Lewis is a very good New York City journalist, long time. I have respect for him. I think his politics are more conservative than mine, but he's a good, solid Black journalist. These people were touting Eric Adams as the new Black power in New York City. In other words, he is the new manifestation of Black power in New York. There are articles to that effect, that he is the new. So what you're finding, right, is that there's a generation of Black people who are about my age or a little older, who did not come out of the movement era, who are now, we're kind of like the adults in the room of the Black communities we have throughout the country, right? And most of us are too young to have come out of the movement era or to have been adults. Even Eric Adams is too young to come out of it. So our only contextual memory of Black politics is pretty much the Black political class post-civil rights. So as a result, many of us have a fetish obsession with people like Maynard Jackson, people like other Black political class officials who did expand the Black middle class in their constituencies, but there's little discussion about how their policies affected working class and poor Black people.
Pascal, we have so much to discuss. I know it's been a while since I had you on. I got to get you back soon. You come with a volume of knowledge and context and nuance that is necessary. But I'm gonna have to hold the conversation here. Tell everyone how they can get up with you and support your work.
Absolutely. You guys can check us out at This Is Revolution Podcast at all your relevant podcast apps, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so on and so forth. This Is Revolution Podcast at YouTube. You can check me out at PROBERT at PRobert06. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on social media. You can Google my name at Black Agenda Report. You'll see my work. I also write for Newsweek as well. You can check my name out, and you'll see my articles in Newsweek. I have articles in the Huffington Post. As Ben can tell you, I've been writing about Black politics for over a decade now. So, for those who are not familiar with my work, you can check it out.
You've been in this longer than I have, brother. I appreciate everything that you do. We'll talk with you soon.
All right, brother. Peace.
I want to bring into the conversation real quick, guys. I told you we had a jam-packed show, but there's just so many conversations that we have to not only catch up on, but move the ball forward on. Rebecca Zora is going to be joining us momentarily. DJ Exclusive, he's in the background. I want to move right to Allison Collins. She is an educator and former San Francisco Board of Education commissioner. Allison, along with 3 other board members, all educators of color, were recalled after a campaign supported by San Francisco Democratic Mayor London Bree herself, a Black woman. 3 parents replaced them, backed by Bree. Ooh, we're jumping into the deep end. First of all, thank you for joining us this morning. How are you? All right, 1 second. I think okay, we've got you now. Dwayne, Okay, got you. 1 second. I'm sorry, I was missing my signals there. DJ Exclusive, I didn't have my screen up. You see, I was going straight into it.
And y'all, I was going to play right along because I was about to come in and like, hi, good morning, Benjamin. I'm doing pretty good. How about you this morning? I was going to play right into it, but I just seemed like, you know what? I'm going to stay here and just look all pretty on screen and not say nothing.
James said Ben is going to eventually take a breath and look at the screen and realize his guest is not ready.
Because I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, is Ben hearing Dwayne in the background? Because I'm not hearing anything. No. So maybe he's hearing the voice of God. And no. Okay, cool.
No. So sometimes I try to move so efficiently, James. And then I sometimes try to move so efficiently and I run directly into a brick wall. I'm like, damn. I could have taken a couple of breaths in between that last interview. Matter of fact, I could have talked. I digress.
I was just like, maybe Ben knows something I don't. Okay, cool. All right, perfect.
No, Ben just had a lot of coffee this morning and saw the list and said, we're gonna interview every person on this list today, not only because it's a personal challenge of mine, but also because every one of their stories are very, very important. James, I love how we can go from just completely serious to completely ridiculous and back again. Like,
I told you, that's what I said, depth. You thought I said death. I'm like, no, anybody say death, man? I said depth of this show. I ain't say death.
We can hear you now, brother. What's happening? Dwayne,
you there?
That's what's going on. Okay.
That's going on. Okay. Good morning, Allison. How are you doing this morning, Allison?
Good morning, Allison. We had a technical difficulty with our technical director. We did not hear him, but we have you now. If you would allow me to introduce you again to our audience, because I believe your story is very significant. Educator and former San Francisco Board of Education commissioner, faced a recall campaign by the mayor there in the city of San Francisco. And thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all.
Absolutely. What brought my attention to your work was the fact that you are part of the victims of this push against critical race theory, against just the school boards in general. Like, it's not just critical race theory. There seems to be an onslaught across the country against school boards. Would you talk about that in general, but specifically how it impacted you?
Well, I guess I appreciate you bringing it up. And I think what has been interesting as somebody in San Francisco, we do have a sense, we always like to think of ourselves as really unique. We are a very progressive school district. We've, for a long time, pushed progressive policies. We've removed police from schools. We've had pro-LGBTQ curriculum. And so a lot of times we think of ourselves as separate from the country. And yet what we've been seeing is attacks against educators, at the school board level, but all the way down to the classroom level. And I've been following this on Twitter. I'm very connected with educators who do anti-racist education across the country. And there's basically just a purging of our education system from the top to the bottom. And they're using critical race theory and information attacks, recalls, and also resignation campaigns to just purge the system and bring us back. And so in San Francisco specifically, we started seeing a lot of activity around reopening schools. And I've also seen it kind of a confluence. I don't think this would be happening if it weren't for COVID. I think it was very destabilizing. And what you saw in New York and San Francisco was a wave of parents who said, we want our kids back in school. And there were discrepancies in who wanted their kids back sooner. And the Republican Party and conservative and right-wing forces basically mobilized that parent frustration and parent anger, which was largely affluent, white, parents or professional women as well, who maybe were less impacted by COVID and needed schools to be open in order for them to work, as compared to, we have a lot of communities of color in San Francisco that live in multi-generational households. Were actually more impacted by COVID, less able to quarantine, when you're living a whole family in a one-bedroom house. And so school districts were balancing these needs, especially in urban areas like New York, San Francisco, and basically, I'd say more conservative forces were able to mobilize that parent frustration and anger in conjunction with other efforts to kind of push back on progressive anti-racist education and just, mobilize people to remove folks from office.
Can you help us understand why it is that so many conservative groups, movements, politicians, why is a school board level so important that they are throwing everything but the book at it?
That's a really good question. Yeah, and I don't think people understand. I'm an educator, 100%. I'm a parent organizer. I ran because I've been working in our district for a very long time as just a parent, and I wanted to be involved at that level. But for most people in San Francisco, the school board is seen as a stepping stone to higher office, and that's true across the country. And so if you want the pathway to power, it's through these local offices. And we're not just seeing school boards, but we're also seeing other local offices that are being targeted. But it's very, kids are a very emotional issue. And if you can mobilize parents, you can mobilize folks and in a very strong way politically. And that's where schools have consistently been a way for people to mobilize for political action, even when, the ultimate goal isn't necessarily to serve schools. And we've seen that, right? Public schools are generally underfunded, undersupported, and yet they consistently come up in political campaigns because they mobilize people to vote. And specifically around safety of children, it's a very mobilizing issue to talk about, child safety when it comes to COVID, also when it comes to some of these issues that conservative parents are concerned about, when it comes to teaching about LGBTQ issues, teaching about sex education, or teaching about race.
You have a podcast, and it is entitled Just Talks. I'm one of your first episode. You were talking with Dr. Walter Greason. You connected these attacks to on the school board to January 6th. Help us see that connection there.
Well, I think it's, I do appreciate that because this isn't a new thing. We've seen this throughout history. And in last January, when this recall started, I started seeing things happening across the country. And so then you start to realize this isn't just San Francisco. And then when I talked to educators who, and especially historians, I became really appreciative of historians. They started talking about the fact that McCarthyism actually started with school boards. And I didn't realize that. But they basically branded people communists, and they went from town to town and said, these people can't teach our children, they're communists. And so this is a playbook, and, I spoke to Jesse Hagopian. He's with the Zinn Education Project, and they're tracking anti-CRT legislation and trying to support educators in the classroom who are being targeted. There's like social studies teachers, kids are filming them and then sending it to Fox News, and they're getting fired. So this is not just a school board issue, and these are all connected. And if it's just a playbook. But what's challenging, I think, is that we have social media, which allows people to really amplify misinformation in a way that is unprecedented. And also, like I said, we've had progress, but, places like maybe New York or San Francisco or quote blue states don't realize that, these same playbooks are just as effective.
No, I'm thinking, and as you add it up, from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, to the South, to the North, we see this concerted effort by conservatives to control from the school board level. I want to briefly talk about the recall campaign that you faced, because all of this is interconnected, but more specifically, what's the next move, not only for you, but for other parents and educators who get involved only to be recalled by a movement that's trying to stop you from teaching our kids?
Yeah, I think that to me has been the biggest concern is thinking about, I was an organizer on the ground. And what I realized is once I became a member of the school board, you need folks to protect you and the work in order for you to keep doing it. And we are really dealing with a very organized infrastructure that's been built to basically take back our country to the 40s and 50s as far as,
right.
Some of the policies that we have. And in doing the research, I'm an educator and I do research. I met with a professor, Isaac Kamala, and he has basically documented this infrastructure has been in place for a while now, but it was targeted on higher ed. So the colleges were facing this through Koch-funded organizations called Campus Reform, was like a way that they would publish fake news. And then they had training organizations or student leadership for conservative college students to basically launch information campaigns against educators at the higher ed level talking about critical race theory and remove them from our colleges. And that he's basically saying that infrastructure is now being focused on the K through 12 level. And I'm seeing it with an organization like Charlie Kirk has an organization called Turning Point. San Francisco Unified is on that list, right? So they list school boards that are doing like critical race theory. There's organizations like Parents Defending Education. Azra Nomani is very politically active. She's a Trump supporter, right-wing media persona, and she's a parent who also started a group where parents can report their school district for teaching CRT. So there's an infrastructure that I don't think people are really aware of. It's heavily funded, and it is highly connected, both politically and also with the media. And so the reason I started the podcast is because I feel like people are really unprepared. I'm just a volunteer. I'm not a professional politician. I don't have a PR firm. And when you look at even smaller, school districts, if they want to take you out, they have an infrastructure to do that. And I think this really is just a test case for what they are planning to do across the country in the November elections.
That's, Allison, that's the part. As much as this is completely an aside, but what you said just really made me reflect on why we do what we do here, because I think a lot of people don't realize there's an actual coup happening right now in real time. It might be moving slow, but they're not done yet. And the school board level is a part of that. Allison, can you tell everyone how they can get up with you and support your work, and just get a last thought on that for me?
Well, I appreciate that. So I'm Allie M. Collins on Twitter, and I also started Allie Collins Productions on Facebook and Instagram. I'll be sharing podcasts, but my goal is to really bring some of the folks that I've told you about to the public so they can get educated about what's happening. And I just deeply appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and media like this is really important because mainstream media is not covering this story. And it is critical right now with all that's going on in the world. We also need to be aware that there is a war kind of happening on the ground. And there's folks who are using this kind of destabilizing time with COVID and the war in Ukraine to make moves at a local level.
That's right. Absolutely right. Allison Collins, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Can I invite myself on your podcast?
I would love to be on your podcast.
I'm tacky like that. I'm tacky like that. I'll just ask and invite myself.
I think it's because the importance is this is a communications war. And I don't think people understand how much of a communications war this is. And I talk to folks, in the city, and they say, oh, well, I'm not on Twitter. And I say, yeah, but folks are talking about stuff that is going to make things, it's going to be real life. People are generating fake news that becomes real, and we have to deal with it. So media is important. We have to be media savvy, and we have to spread the truth. And your show and other shows are the ones that are getting the truth out.
Allison, thank you so much for that. We're going to follow up. I'll come over and be on your podcast anytime, and we'll have to have you back here sometime soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. So there's a Florida police chief who was fired over minority first practices in hiring, meaning he was hiring people of color first. We got a clip. Let's take a look at the clip.
I made the decision that it was in the best interest of the department to separate with the current chief of police.
Fort Lauderdale City Manager Chris Lagerbloom announcing his decision to fire Police Chief Larry Scarato after just 6 months on the job. The allegation is discrimination in promoting officers. Scarato is firing back.
The EEOC report is a report built on hearsay. There's no testimony. There is no transcript. There's no audio.
An investigation alleged that Scarato made promotions based on race, gender, and sexual orientation. The report says at one point Scarato was pointing to a wall of pictures of command staff saying, "That wall is too white. I'm going to change that."
The bottom row had several white males and one white female, and we were talking in conversation as it relates to our community and the expectation of a diverse and inclusive organization. And how do I report that we have that if the entire bottom row are white men?
Diversity in any department is a plus, and we strive to be diverse in our organization. We strive to represent the community that we serve. There's just certain lawful ways to allow that diversity to happen, and in this case, the investigative report indicated we didn't quite follow the law.
James, what is your initial reaction here, man?
I
heard you say my dog.
First of all, it's Fort Lauderdale, and I'm just like, damn. And then when I tell you that they scared, but this man is looking for the people, is hiring people that's in that community, and that's right. The LGBT community is really big down there. Okay, the black community is really huge down there. People of color are really huge down there. So when he said he looked at that wall too white, goddamn right, it's too white. Change all of that. Right. Get the people from the community that needs to be in there, that knows how to work their community. That's what we need.
Yep. Yeah, and that's that on that, Cap. Because let's be real. I must say that's that on that, and then go into my own diatribe. I hate me. These cats don't even live in the cities that they police. They come from the suburbs. They're coming from Perrine. Well, they may not drive that far, but they're coming from Miramar, right? They out there in the nicest of neighborhoods, and they come into the city of Fort Lauderdale, and they take taxpayer dollars, beat up our citizens, because we know what y'all doing. Come on, I'm from now. One place I know, and I can call home, is Fort Lauderdale, and I know that place a little too well, right? We know what y'all doing. Y'all taking all the money out of there. All these police officers don't look like nobody in Fort Lauderdale. You're right, James. Fort Lauderdale is diverse. Go in the neighborhood in Fort Lauderdale and show me that's predominantly white. In the city of Fort Lauderdale proper, show it to me. I mean, maybe down in Las Olas area, if you're going to include that, I don't know. Maybe you find some folks, and that's the LGBTQIA community down there. So it's got a reason to be diverse.
Right.
But here's the game. The game is now, oh, you want to give us diversity. If you give us diversity, then that means you're a racist, and now we can fire you.
So he did the right thing. He just did it a little too early. There wasn't the proper chain of command in place for him to make that, you know what I mean, to try to make that change. So
he came
expand on that a little bit more.
just like, I mean, it goes to just changing everything from the local level. But in order to make those changes, you gotta have the support of your mayor and your and what's up from that, and then your governor and the city council and stuff like that. So he was, it was right place, wrong time, if you put it that way.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. You know what? I can't disagree with you.
Because of what? He was only there for what, 6 months?
God, they got rid of that boy so quick. God damn.
He came in, he was like, oh no, he changed it too much. No, man.
Oh, he actually mean diversity.
Right.
He came in and meant diversity and inclusion.
And he probably ran on that, because don't you have to be elected to be the police chief? Isn't the police chief elected, or are they appointed?
No, not in the city structure. The sheriff there is elected, but in the city structure, that's usually a hired position.
Okay.
Right, and then if it's a city manager, a strong, if it's a weak mayor, strong city manager, like we just saw, he's able to pull the trigger on a firing. So that tells me the city manager down there got a little bit too much power. Maybe that's my estimation.
So he pulled the classic interview move. He went in there and he did the song and dance in his interview. In the back of his mind, he was like, "Oh, I'm about to shake it up when I get in here." He just spoke a little out of turn, a little too.
Sorry to that man.
He shook the table a whole lot. Oh, you shaking?
Now listen. We're laughing, but we do stand in solidarity with you, brother. But we're gonna giggle a little bit, because you really thought you were gonna be able to pull this off in that racist ass style. We appreciate you. No, because that's like we were talking about Brian Flores. Like, it takes courage. Somebody got to be the first out the gate. Like, shout out to that man for taking it on the chin.
Yep.
The next person, understand, you got to change the city manager first. So let's work on that. Let's get rid of that city manager. I just be throwing around stuff.
Yeah. And speaking,
threatening people's jobs and stuff.
Speaking of Brian,
like I got power.
Dr. Matt, I'm coming for you next week, buddy.
Wait a minute, man. You can't threaten Dr. Mac while he ain't here.
I know. I'm gonna send him a text too when we're done, just to let him know. So,
and I'm assuming, Dwayne, I'm assuming that your microphone has been on to the audience all this time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, man. For this, so Brian Flores, what's going on with Brian Flores?
I'm gonna save it because there ain't nothing going on with Brian Flores. That's why I'm gonna save it so me and Dr. Matt can have that conversation again.
Because I do remember.
I think all of us remember
how passionately our brother Dr. Mac. This is so unfair. We should not be roasting him in his absence. We love you,
exactly. He's not here. Look,
he can't defend himself. Somebody cut this segment, send it to Dr. Mac, because we gonna say it. We're gonna say it again when he's back. But ain't nobody even talking about Brian Flores right now, man.
I wonder why. He went and got him a job, and now. What do we? What?
They swept that under the rug. They probably gave.
Well, maybe
you know what? We gonna wait till Dr. Matt come in. I think we should wait.
Yeah, no, we gotta. Because I don't want to answer to him off air. So y'all wait till that man come on air. Y'all ain't gonna set me up, get my head knocked off.
Right. Ben,
I understand power levels here. I understand appropriate power levels as such. Anyway. I think also, though, we got to remember that this brother in Fort Lauderdale, while we are kind of giggling on his behalf, in a similar way, he jumped out there to actually mean what he said when he said diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
Right? Dwayne, I agree with you. Maybe it was a little too soon, but he did it. And he took it on the chin. So, we'll stand in solidarity with him for sure. Ain't no question. Like, where the rally at? What's the plan? What's the move? Because they're playing a game with him. They fired him because he actually tried to bring in diversity. And they did it with hearsay, like no actual real evidence. Like, that shows you how pathetic they are, but how malicious they are. They will fire you with no real evidence if you actually try to bring in diversity. So we're 100% gonna stand with that brother in Fort Lauderdale. Pascal, Jesse Smollett. Jesse Smollett's legal team pushes for an emergency release. following a threatening call. According to reports, Jesse Smollett's lawyers want the actor immediately sprung from jail, claiming that he and his family are the targets of vicious threats, including a phone call that alluded to the notorious case of a sodomized New York City man. So basically, he got some threatening phone calls saying that he was going to get sexually assaulted in jail and all sorts of things.
I'm sorry. Sorry, man. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to be so serious, dude. God, sexual assault is not a joke, even in jail, James. I'm like, come on, man. We can't laugh about
it's not. But Juicy is.
I mean, unless it's like Vladimir Putin in jail. But
we're talking about Juicy though. We're talking about Juicy though.
And that's why I'm like, I'm sorry, I had to laugh. Sexual assault is very serious. It is very hurtful. But Juicy.
You got me weak, man. All right. Please continue. Benjamin, please.
David, take me down.
Leave him up. Because that's it. That's the whole story. I got nothing else. That's it. He don't want to go to jail.
Because you got to remember, right after he got his sentencing, he said, "I'm not Sean Kingston. I am not Sean Kingston."
Suicidal.
Yeah. He's like, "I'm not Sean Kingston," right?
Now wait,
but then next thing he's in the psychiatric ward. So the psychiatric or the psych ward part of the jail. So it's like, you good, man. You get extra Jello over there. You're gonna be all right, right? But
yeah,
now he's sitting here saying that he's worried that he's gonna be assaulted. I just keep thinking I'm sorry. He just keeps making more stuff up, pulling things out his butthole.
All he had to do.
Sorry, he's pulling things out of his ass and going, "Hey, I'm making things up." Now, I am going to be a political martyr. That's the role I'm going to play now. I'm going to summon Denzel in Malcolm X. I am not talking. I am not Sean Kingston. That's what he's doing the entire time.
Did y'all see that courtroom tirade?
That was so stupid. Man, I wish we could relive that again. Gay Tupac again. I'm sorry, I just don't have time for this. I don't understand why people are so supportive of this man. He is a liar. He is literally everything that any person, the Benjamin Dixon Show, any other platform that has come out and tried to talk about pushing the narrative, trying to change people's lives, save people's lives. And he took full advantage of that for his own financial and celebrity gain. And we're still out. People are still out here trying to protect him. I'm sorry. That's just me. I just
no, man.
Patience for this.
Nah.
Yeah,
I go ahead, James.
I'm about to say, I don't feel bad for the man. You know, I'm just trying to figure out, first of all, initial thought is, why the hell you did it in the first place?
Why
the hell you did it in the first place? And then you try to blame the man that you was over here. See, we still on Georgia Fort show, Benjamin, and I can't be talking about these types of things.
Wait, change the branding. Change the branding.
Yeah, I was waiting to say my comment after.
Should I tell you what? That on this segment? I'm so sorry.
We're a little. Our timing is a little discombobulated today. We haven't switched our brandings like we normally do. But
it's you discombobulated. Yeah, discombobulated. Yeah.
Discombobulated.
Here's the thing. I don't know where Georgia Fort stands on this issue, but I'm sure she would laugh too, because James, this boy should be at home chilling right now, but he needed some attention, so he's sitting in jail. Like,
you could be at home chilling with them two fine ass men that you got in trouble. You could have been chilling, but now you want to say, "Hey, man, let's make some money, man. Go ahead and just say that y'all beat me up or whatever. We know that ain't happen, and then we be good." But no, you want to just play this goddamn game like you just stupid. You just blew your whole damn career over nothing.
Nothing.
And you weren't doing bad either. You were doing good. You would have had a damn great career. But here it is. So you stay relevant. You want to say that a MAGA supporter beat you up? You stupid ass man.
Thank you. Thank you. And yet there are people out here wanting to defend that ass. And
well, you know why we do it though, man. Y'all know why we do it. Y'all know we be.
Why do we do it, Ben? Because goddamn it, tell me.
You know,
write it down for all of us so we all understand.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying this is right. I'm saying this is because it's a bad habit that we have as a Black community. Like our gut instinct is to try to protect our people first, because we know this system is just buck wild on any given day. They could just, this system will make up something and kill you like Emmett Till, right? So our gut instinct is to always jump and defend some Black folks, but there's some Black folks we just let go of just as quick as we used to defend them, because R. Kelly, let's go down the list. Bill Cosby, love you, mean it, got a picture with you, but Jesse Smollett, different cases, different degrees, obviously not the same thing at all. But we got to be willing to cut off some of these people because they're not doing us any good as a community. So
Trey Songz too.
I don't know the whole story with Trey Songz. What's the whole story?
What Trey did?
Man, he got some accusations out here.
Oh no, Trey.
You know what I'm saying? Because he.
Oh wait, sexual assault allegations, isn't it? Or is that not right? I don't want to. Okay.
Many.
Man.
Wow.
He's in the middle of doing that kind of stuff. So yeah. So these are all accusations, but people are trying to put him on the cancel block. You know what I mean? Cancellation chop.
Well,
yeah.
Listen, man.
Man.
Listen, if you, like, so we got to be willing to cancel people in our own community. Like, I'm not with the whole. I don't care. Cancel. I like accountability. You do something. You're held accountable, man. Period. Like I don't call that cancellation. If that man is out there sexually assaulting people, he need to carry his ass to jail. Do not pass go. Don't collect $200. Carry ass to jail with Jesse Smollett.
Juicy.
Hey, can you hang out a few more minutes, Pascal? I know you just got here. We're gonna break and bring the queen in properly. We're gonna do let's do that real quick.
Pascal,
James, it's in your hands, man.
It was one of those things. He was like, King Kong ain't got nothing on me.
I put cases on all.
I got cases on all y'all.
You know what I mean?
We run this.
We've been led astray, bamboozled. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock landed on
us.
Summoning Denzel. I'm just saying. He's looking for his new book and his new Lifetime movie. Watch.
Just you said it right. New Lifetime movie, because he ain't going nowhere else.
He ain't got nothing to do but sell this story at some point. He gonna make no other money. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He could star. He could be Juicy Smollett as Juicy Smollett in. You know what I mean? Done.
I can't stand Rebecca Azor.
We can go back to Jussie Smollett since you guys are talking about Juicy Fruit, but I will say this about Jussie Smollett as I look for you guys. I can't find y'all. Okay, there y'all go. I would say this about the Jussie Smollett situation case, right? He did that. He did it. He did that. He did that thing. The only thing is, throw him on house arrest. Have him in the streets, having required to go pick up trash on the side of the streets. I know that may not be enough, because let me tell you, when I first heard the story of Jussie Smollett, right, or what he did, the lying, the next day. That's not funny. The next day he got on stage and he said on stage after the incident to perform, he grabbed the microphone, and with that microphone, he said to the people that sat there in support of him, thinking that he was a product of a hate crime, right? That he experienced a hate crime. He told that audience, they ain't gonna hold me down. And this is not verbatim, but you can Google it. They're not gonna hold me down. They can't hold me down. I am the gay Tupac. Dropped the mic and walked away.
He did.
What? I missed that part.
You see the video?
He did.
Man, I got the link already, but anyway.
Okay. Send the link over, man. Send the link over in the chat room.
So they can see what I'm talking about.
It's amazing. But he had a moment before he said, I'm the gay Tupac. Before he said that, he hesitated. You see it. He kind of walks away like, should I say?
He leaned in.
F it, I'm gonna say it.
He had a Kanye moment.
Right.
And then he's like,
Did I
don't
send it?
know why I just said that, but I did say it. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's like, wow. You know what I'm saying? It's so funny. But man, man, that gets me weak. Hold on, I'm gonna say
I did not know there was a gay Tupac.
That's just like me saying I'm the gay Biggie. What the hell? No.
I mean,
the gay Rick Ross.
now that we're on to something here.
The biggest boss that you've seen us, huh?
We're on to something here. But honestly, when I saw that and I heard it, I was like, okay, something's fishy about this. But that's neither here or there for me to judge, because this man said that he went through this. And I want us to continue to believe the people that are saying that they're going through hate crimes. But I hate that it's almost like when women come out and say that they've been abused by a man, and when it comes out to be a lie, you know, the first thing that we want to do is believe them. But when it comes out to be a lie, it's like, why would you go out when we're already having a hard time having people believe that women are being abused?
That's right.
Now you're coming out here, you let this thing stretch out. Speaking of Chris Brown and his recent situation, but we'll get to that on another day. But you know, now you're speaking out and it's making it, and you're lying, and it's all because the man didn't text you back, the man didn't call you back. There are real situations in this world, and for me, Jussie Smollett, somebody of a high caliber, to go out and be, you know, creating lies. I'm talking about cutting up newspaper letters and putting them as ransom notes. You created your own ransom note, my guy. You literally choked yourself out. Had the man that you were intimate with literally beat your behind and then go to the hospital and say they whooped your behind. It's
because you wanted to role play that night.
Right.
I was just say that.
You allowed the police department, who we don't even already trust. We say 13 because F12. We'll skip over 12, right? But we know that we need them. Right? When we need them. We'll pray that God sends somebody that's trustworthy. But I have to say, the police department at that time, especially in Chicago, was dealing with so much other stuff. Had to, because it's a high profile case with Jussie Smollett, had to push. They were trying to cover up that one. Yeah. And then they had to turn around and be like, let's go ahead and the feds take care of this and see what's going on. To make statements saying that, man, we got your back, Jussie, all of this, only to be like, damn, Jussie, you had us running around town. People was getting crazy and all kinds of stuff. And we had to come over here and do 6 jobs for you. Now, I say that to say, what they're doing now is almost like, y'all, you made us look like a fool. So we're going to make sure you pay the price. But I'm like, we don't need to be on that. We got a lot of black men in there serving time for no reason. Put an ankle on his brace, put a bracelet on his ankle, sit him in the house like it's another round of the pandemic for him, so he can sit down and think about what he's done. And I do not think that at this juncture, right, of the whole thing, we know that there's a mental issue happening. And I don't want us to miss that. There's a mental issue. He's a manipulative person. I said it already. He did that thing. I said that already. He should have never utilized hate crime and falsified that it happened to him. I said that already. But we already have enough going on with black men being in jail. And for small things. And I'm not saying that this was small. Wow. Y'all let this thing drag. And then all of a sudden, y'all put this man who you know has a mental issue, a whole mental issue, behind bars. But here's my thing. He's so manipulative. He made sure to highlight his mental issue when he sat there in that chair and then told them people, I did not die by suicide. I did not commit suicide. And I said, you know what you're doing. You play too much. You know what you're doing. But at the same time, he's on the verge, and we have to make sure we monitor him because he's liable to do so or hurt himself, with the idea that he's making about himself in his head. I don't know, but I don't play about mental illness. But go ahead, Pascal. You've been touching that mic like you want to spit something. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just moving it out the way because it's just right up in my face.
That's part of your.
I will say this though,
James.
What?
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I'm sorry, I don't have any.
Y'all better leave that white demon alone. That cocaine that have you doing some crazy
Put
stuff
that in your body. It's a hell of a drug. The fact that we got more of our black men incarcerated for even the littlest of crimes, right? For freaking speeding tickets, for crying out loud, it seems like. But I do feel like what this man has done is just an unspeakable, unthinkable thing.
Right.
And for him to, and I feel like there's another side, there's the other shoe, right? There's the other side of the fence where what if he did get that just a slap on the wrist and he got the anklet and he just had to do house arrest for like, say, 2 months on good behavior or whatever you want to call it. I feel like there'd be another side of the world very upset saying, hey, look, see, this is what financial privilege grants you. Oh, so he does this heinous crime to himself. He puts out this hoax, lies to the general public. And yet he is going to go pay a fine. And he's going to be able to walk scot-free. Sure, he won't be able to work ever again because he's an artist. And given the fact you snuff his creativity and his creative juices, that's prison as well. I'm obviously quoting Taraji P. Henson. But you're telling me that people are going to be happy with that, okay, he got what he deserved? No, I feel like there's going to be the other side of the other. Like it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation. You can't please everybody, but at the same time, this is a perfect example for any other person out here that's ever tried to think up a hate crime to do to themselves. I'm just saying, it's kind of about it. Think about it. This is a cautionary tale for anyone else who wants to try to do something out here as stupid as Jussie Smollett did. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I feel some type of way.
So you feel like he should do the time?
Absolutely.
How much time?
It's only 150 days.
That's what. Okay, so 150 days. You're right, but I feel like Jussie Smollett definitely did that thing. He did it. It was wrong. He did it. He did it. And I also feel like him doing that lets me know he's mentally not okay, and we shouldn't bypass that either. And for he thrives off of being the star of the moment. I think that's why he did it in the first place. Yes, he's a narcissist. And I think that y'all, both of them, David, I just really, I don't know, y'all. Of seeing a black man go to jail for something like, and I can't say it was light. See, I'm with you, Rebecca. I was on your team, Pascal, when it first started. I was like, yo, send that man to jail. It's just so many people out here, part of the LGBTQIA plus community, who are suffering, who are dying on the street, who are being abused, listen. And then the police officers who we already don't like are spending all that money that they get every day on a situation that ain't got nothing to do because it ain't real. And they got people that's really dying in the street, and they can actually go and be a police officer and show themselves doing some true work. I agreed with you 100%, especially when it first happened. But me seeing how the police department can abuse their power in that moment too was very interesting, because they made sure that they put their claws into this thing, as if this man killed 10 people, as if he walked up to a protest with an AK something, right? As if he opened the doors of a church and killed people for no reason. That's how the police department decided to treat this. And that's what bothered me the most. And that let me know in that particular moment what I needed to know.
I mean, I definitely see your point. I had a discussion about this the other day on my show, and people came on, they were throwing in their 2 cents about this as well. And I hear that. Yeah. I fully get it. I mean, I could see both sides of this. I just feel like personally, I'm going to say it. I took it personal. Yeah. And I took it out
because it's so corny.
This is me as a black man in this country, where I have to sit there and I have to fight to get my word out there, fight to get heard. If something ever was to God forbid, anything happen to me or mines, and I have to fight for that. But then he is a celebrity. He has the money. He got a lot more money than me. He got the name out there. He utilized all that stuff to be heard by 5-0, right? And they responded quickly. It became national news. Do you know how many other stories that don't get national news that those stories could have been spent on? Missing children stories, missing person stories, other acts of injustices happen out in these streets. And we were occupied over Jussie Smollett, the gay Tupac. And it frustrates me. At that time, I'm saying all of that. It's not just only him just being a black man. It's all the other stuff that he took advantage of because he is a black man.
Yeah.
Celebrity. and financial privilege. We have that Gay Tupac video. I wanted to show you guys that I sent.
Yes.
To,
yeah, I want to see that so
real
people
quick.
can see I ain't lying. It happened.
I was bruised, but my ribs were not cracked. They were not broken. I went to the doctor immediately. Frank Gatson drove me. I was not hospitalized. Both my doctors in LA and Chicago cleared me to perform, but said to take care, obviously. And above all, I fought the fuck back. I'm the gay Tupac. So now you can do
I'm the gay Tupac. Juicy.
He did it. He played that role. He played that role.
Look,
I
and I'll
agree.
say this, and I have to, and I gotta agree with Pascal with what he said, but I gotta take it a step further because as a black gay man doing all this, and for him to have done that, he betrayed all us because we're already a minority in several communities.
In a minority. Yeah.
In a minority community. So here it is now when it's all this stuff is going on, especially this is when a lot of trans killings were going on and trans violence going on. So now you want to come out and say that you were attacked, but then your attackers turned out to be two people that you was playing with. So now you got our whole damn gay community looking like some stupid asses out here, man.
Yeah, no, they were just working out.
They were working out.
Working
Working out.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all been on the OnlyFans lately, but working out is a whole new understanding.
Category.
Well, no, you know, workouts. It's crazy. But
So, Rebecca.
as I was saying, you know, he said that, and I was like, you don't find that suspicious? You don't find that
suspicious?
And the nigga was confused.
Anyway, you know what? He deserved, you know, everything that came to him after that. You know, he fell from grace. We see what I'm saying? A lot of people that stuck up for him couldn't even speak up for him in that moment. We didn't hear from Taraji P. Henson because I know she was hurt after speaking up in the first time, that first day, trying to love on him, and then only to realize, boy, you did
She
not
got played
go out
too.
here and lie again. And I already had to, because you remember there's an instance that Taraji had to stick up for her son. Meanwhile, her real son in real life don't lie that he was attacked by the police at his school. And then she had to come out with a statement and say, I am sorry, I believe my son. I should have done a little bit more research. I think that's why Taraji decided after making her statement, then realizing the man was lying, she had to be quiet. For years, she hadn't said anything. And then she stepped out. But I think on this reasoning, she's just like, he doesn't deserve all of that. Maybe he should go and get checked in. Maybe he should, something needs to happen. But that man, he did that.
I just I agree. I know we got to move on because Pascal, I know you got to go, but I just want to say this. I agree with all of y'all. And I know that doesn't make sense, but I don't think that he should be spending more time in jail than the people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th. I don't think that he should be spending more time in jail than Donald Trump, than some of these people who are out there doing some
Bubba, you gotta because Ben dropped some key stuff right there.
He did, but you know, David got to bring me in on a separate channel. So, but by the time I even play the damn horn, it's just like
it's delayed.
Oh wait, now he did, and I ain't even ready yet.
Well, at the same
There we go.
Hood level. Hey, we just unlocked a new hood level achievement right there. Right?
Yeah. Jane Champion, you know, I think recently she's a director. And she was recently at, what was the awards? The Critics Choice Awards. Critics Choice Awards. Okay, because we don't really watch the award shows like that no more. But she was there, and they had to say she's a white woman from New Zealand. Like, lady, we can look at her and see. She was accepting.
Oh my God!
No, she does. She's a white woman. But she was accepting the award for the. I don't know why they put that in this article. A white woman from New Zealand. That's ridiculous.
Right? It's like
she was, and I know here's why though. But she was accepting the award.
Oh, NPR said that. Hell
yes,
nah. NPR.
She was
Wildin'.
accepting the award for the best director for her film, The Power of the Dog. Y'all saw that movie?
No.
Y'all know what movie that is?
No.
Y'all know where to find it?
It's on Netflix.
Netflix, I guess. I don't know.
What's his name? Benedict Cumberbatch is in it.
Oh, that's that movie. Okay,
So now I
okay.
gotta go see about what this movie talking about. Is it about a dog?
Come see about it.
I think
Okay.
I think it's just like a Western kind of thing.
Okay,
about
okay.
cowboys or something.
Maybe dog is the name of the guy. So, anyways, in her speech, Campion. So I've been saying her name wrong. Campion, the only woman nominated in the category. Okay, so that's a big deal. She's the only woman nominated in the category itself. She praised the Williams sisters as marvels in their craft. Like, lady, you in film, and we. Okay, but the Williams sisters is marvels in their craft, but implied that the two black women, because they see NPR is messy, the two black women did not face the same battles in gender equality as women in film. You got that video?
Oh, in film.
Yeah, in film. But I want you guys to take a look at what she said and tell me how you feel about it.
Okay.
What? All right.
Look.
Yeah. Dun, dun. Just.
Give my love out to my fellow, the guys. Give my love out to my fellow, the guys. Nominees and you know, Serena and Venus, you are such marvels. However, you do not play against the guys like I have to.
Y'all, what's wrong with y'all? Get her out of here. So, Jane.
I'm processing.
Hold up. Can you? Do you mind? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you play that one more time?
Play it again.
Marvels.
Play it again.
And you know, Serena and Venus, you are such marvels. There we go. However, you do not play against the guys like I have to.
So after her
very much cringe.
Okay, so it was cringe when I watched it, but people.
He said she did that.
Kirsten
she did that. She did that. She definitely
Guilty
said
as
she did it. But so for us, it's like, okay, you don't understand and you don't know, ma'am. I don't know. It's like she wanted to say, you guys are marvels. You guys are black women who struggle every day in this sport. You guys, you're discriminated against, but you're not discriminated against as I am in film. I have to deal with the battle of working against men and going against men. And it's like, ma'am, lady, what? Let me tell you something. What I hate to see is when white women, white women literally will look to be oppressed somewhere so bad. And we're like, okay, so are you taking away the fact that these two aren't women and have to deal with what you're dealing with every single day? Like in taking jobs, because they not only work in the sports arena, they have clothing lines, they have skincare lines, they have all kinds of stuff that they have to deal with. But you're saying because they are only marvels and you have to push them over right there into only sports, but you ain't me though, because I do this thing right up here against men. And it's like, see, this is our problem. You don't have to look the two black women in the face and point them out and tell them what the difference is between, what they're discriminated against. And you also are making them smaller when they already all the minorities in the room. Now, not only that, they were saying I'm Venus's face all day. I'm looking like, but what the hell? Everybody was like, well, the replay of the video people were posting as Serena's hugging Jane. Serena is clapping and rooting for Jane. And, and I want you guys to understand that a lot of us have been conditioned throughout our life to laugh off moments where white people will make you feel small in a joke or whatever the case may be. I've sat in boardrooms, I've sat in school meetings. I've sat in all of these places and where white people will make a comment and say something and you just have to laugh it off so that you don't enrage yourself or be upset, because at those times, especially years when we were growing up, we weren't allowed to feel those feelings. And so, yeah, I am exactly this face right here when she said what she said. But what did you guys get from the moment? Should she have been? Should social media have been outraged for the Williams sisters, or should they just have looked at it simply as just a comment that was made to show that in many different places women are struggling?
I look at it as probably both. You know, I think the comment wasn't meant to. It should have been meant to empower, because looking around the room, you know, the other actresses that were in the room were, you know, clapping and we're all for the comment. But it's just like you singling them out and just taking discrediting them from what they're doing in their field, from what they do.
That's right.
So if you could have, you say, you know, you're marvels in what you do, but y'all don't have to compete in basically you saying in this industry with film and making, like they got to compete in a whole nother set of things over here, because with them they have to worry about distribution deals, they're gonna have to worry about products and marketing stuff, all this other kind of stuff that they have to think about in a male dominated industry. So I understand that it's the same with video and film, but I mean, come on now, they have it equally as hard too. So I don't think there's no comparison when it comes to it. She should have just held her comment to herself a little bit. I understand what she was trying to do, but she just held it.
So you ain't riding the fence. You knew it. She said that thing. She said it. She did that. She said it. What's
Pascal.
That?
Oh, it's my turn. I thought we were going to go around this way. So what else?
I'm going. I'm not getting it. No, go ahead.
I'll go last. Okay, fine. This makes me think of something, because as soon as she started saying, "Oh, you know, you didn't have to play against men like me," you know, going into these offices and showing my work and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, being a female director to begin with, doesn't matter what race, is very hard out here in these streets.
Right.
I get it. But it also made me think about this thing that happened this past weekend. Naomi Osaka was playing against, and she was heckled, and she it threw off her entire game. She couldn't even concentrate. She was crying and all that because somebody out there was screaming at her saying that she sucks. There's a reason why I'm saying this story. It's because when she went to the microphone later, she said, "This is the same spot. This is the same area."
Talk about it, Pascal.
That Serena and Venus Williams were heckled at. They were throwing out racial slurs and all that. They were booed as they walked out onto the court because, you know, they were the only black players at that time, black female tennis players at that time. So when I look at something like that, the amount of diversity that those two women have gone through, nothing compares to that. She cannot sit here and say, "Oh, you know, you didn't have to go into a room filled with men and try to be a director and have a movie about dogs come out, you know, and win an award." You know what I'm saying? But you got to understand the amount of diversity that these women, those two women and their father had to stand up against. I mean, Arthur Ashe, any of these other black or people of color athletes that are in a predominantly white game, white sport. I'm sorry, nothing compares. So she really shouldn't have said what she said. I get that. I get why Serena maybe was like, yes, women empowerment type of thing, but I don't think she was really listening. Venus, though, you see the look on her face. She's like, what
the hell?
Like I said, I think Serena was in everything you said was on the money. Praise God for Jesus. I love it because everything you said was on the money. And to use Naomi Osaka as an example is clear because who did she say was an example for her? She said Venus and Serena. She didn't say Jane Campion. She didn't say that. No offense,
she gonna be like, who?
Yeah, because Jane is that for somebody else, but you have to understand the importance of these black women in the game. Venus was the one to fight to make sure that as a woman in the game, as a black woman in this game, that she was paid equal to a white man who played the same sport. Stop playing with me in these streets. Stop playing with me in these streets. So when you get up there and you tell them that they're not against men, it's a lie. It's a lie. And we're not going to use that narrative to sell anything, not to raise yourself up. If you wanted to do so, you didn't have to name Venus and Serena. You should have named your other white counterpart friends sitting in the room.
or just women in general.
Just women in general.
It's so hard to be in a room full of men and you know all that stuff. I get that,
but we're not gonna, in order to raise ourselves up, to make ourselves seem like you good, but you ain't as good as me, because this is what I got to deal with. We're not doing that. We're not, especially when you white. In 2022, to billionaire black women, we're not doing that. Because it tells me that you wanted to show the ones that are shining the most in this room, let me dim their light. And in that moment, Venus probably tried, but her face was not letting her do what needed to be done. And then Serena was just showing what she's used to doing in rooms like that. Let me laugh it off because I'll be home with my kid and my husband and a few.
Right.
What you're used to. Sometimes being just passive with that thing. Just be like, okay, I'm gonna let that roll off me, Jane. I still mess with you, love you, mean it. I ain't even got time to put energy into that. Somebody had to read her. So you know who did it? Us on Twitter. We was like, girl, if you don't go, Jane, who are you? Who are you to say anything about this black woman? She ain't got to be mad, but we gonna be mad for her because
who are me to judge?
How many times have we sat in a room for a job interview?
Come on.
And the girl next to us, white, beautiful white woman, sitting next to us. We doing 6 jobs while they doing 2. And they were the ones that were chosen. How many times have we been the Serena, the Venus in the rooms at the moment? How many times? So you don't know. We gonna fight. We gonna fight. We gonna fight. Anyways,
especially, I'm just playing with you.
Look at me.
We are.
What else?
Y'all see how Rebecca just skipped right over me? Rebecca don't even. I don't even get no love.
You didn't want to say nothing about it. I apologize.
No,
what is your comment on the situation? I don't
have anything to say about it.
Wow.
I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
No. For real. I just want to say.
Oh, sorry.
Campion. No, real quick. Campion really just was so full of herself in that moment that she didn't see that big old blind spot coming, that she just get hit back. And that happens to people who are so quote unquote successful. Then they trying to now elevate themselves. She really should have slowed down and considered for a moment that the blackness itself separates the experience as a black person, separates her from anything else that she would ever experience. So I didn't know. I just my first time seeing the clip, Rebecca. Thank you for bringing that story up. I didn't know anything about that.
I wanted to clarify though. She did apologize. She made a comment and said, I made a thoughtless comment equating what I do in the film world with all that Serena Williams and Venus Williams have achieved. I did not intend to devalue these 2 legendary black women and world-class athletes. He said this on Monday in a statement. And then she said, the fact is Williams sisters have actually squared off against men on the court and off, and they have both raised the bar and opened doors for what is possible for women in this world. The last thing I would ever want to do is minimize remarkable women. So if you knew that fact, why you said what you said?
Yeah, see, but
because she didn't think about it beforehand.
Can I say something real quick? Can I say something?
Say it.
So this is the reason why you get whoever wrote that speech, that little comment, that apology.
It wasn't Jane.
I don't think so.
Hell no, it wasn't Jane.
It was a professional.
I literally think somebody wrote that for her because
that was a publicist. Yeah.
So some publicist should have written her acceptance speech, and she kept her damn eyes on that piece of paper. It might have been shaking because she's probably nervous and excited, but she would have read that and it would have come off much better.
If it's nasty, I can't watch it. I'm serious. I'm gonna put it on mute. Oh
shit! Here you go, Rebecca.
What's that, Dave?
Oh shit!
We are real Coloradans. We deserve a living wage, small government that actually works, and freedom of choice. Instead, we have bullshit. Don't you ever wonder where it's all coming from? Colorado needs a bull, not a bullshitter. I'm Alex Walker, and I approve the shit out of this message.
James! James! Wait, say something! James, say something!
I am speechless. Oh, what the hell is that? These politicians ain't holding no punches, huh?
They got no. Bro, they got no chill. Oh man,
that was some
I
shit.
did not. Take us to a break, James. We'll be back.
I don't know how I'm supposed to. Okay, I think I got it.
Oh my God.
Somebody
I got a
shit in
headache.
my place.
Lauren Boebert, bro. The
Lauren
Lauren
Boebert.
We'll be back after this break, y'all. We ready,
Shit starter and rebel rouser, Benjamin Dixon.
not the kind of shit storm we just saw in that political ad from Walker for, was it Colorado?
Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, that
Go
was
ahead, move to Colorado. I say he's
that's
with the shits.
wildest. Quite literally the wildest commercial I have ever seen.
Yo, us millennials running for these positions, we getting crazy.
Okay.
We really just don't give a damn at
Did
this
you
point.
see that shit?
All the pun intended, definitely. We're getting crazy.
Oh,
we don't even
man.
care. We ain't even saying. Listen, these new senators is not the yesterday's price is not today's price.
Not today's price.
It's definitely not. It's not because
That
I
was
don't know
next
what
level.
to say. We're getting better.
That was next
We're
level.
using our creativity that we used on MySpace. We're putting that to work.
Yeah.
In our Senate commercials.
Wait, we got one more that we got to end on, especially with James' little mentions today. Roll AP3.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh God,
they weren't little mentions.
Blown away by Crabtree's hands and his ability to.
If he hurts himself, I'm gonna fight y'all.
Wait,
take it, you made it. You gotta listen.
Has been blown
You gotta play it again.
by Crabtree's hands and his ability to suck in these balls.
Who and why?
Has been blown away by Crabtree's hands.
His ability to suck in these.
Ability to suck in these balls.
Suck in these
But he's
balls.
literally- it was just bad timing, bad wording. I don't know because he's really actually doing that. The balls are coming to him. You guys are children. You guys are children.
Yes. At the end of the day, yes, we are.
You guys are children.
Goodbye, everybody.
Girl, you see this room?
It's full of kids. Full of kids. Behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, you guys are children.
Play some music. I'm done with y'all, man.
Yeah. And for happy St. Patrick's Day, y'all.
It's St. Patrick's Day.
We really don't give a fuck. It's not a major holiday.
It's really not. You feel like it's fucking
Damn.
Christmas or something. Fuck you and St. Patrick's.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Wait, my thing is, are we still live? Because ain't it? I never know. I never know with y'all. Because I'm like, are we still live? Happy St. Patrick's Day.
We did now.
I don't know. Well, anyways, go.
Oh yeah, we
go
played worse. Shut the hell up.
No, I just said it was funny to me.
Go.
I just did not see that coming. I didn't know that.
I'm about to go mix my drinks and make them green and celebrate the little leprechaun because I'm hoping for some good blessings and some luck. At the end
I don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but it's a green day. I'm gonna celebrate with y'all. Green all over.
Indentured servants celebrate. You know, they got history, so they know. So we rocking with everybody. Well, I'm gonna be drinking that green drink today from the crib. I love y'all.
I'm just gonna have on some green. I'm just gonna smoke some green, so then that way the spirit of the money flows inside of me. There we go.
Church said amen.
Bye, y'all.
Church said amen. All right, y'all. Love y'all meeting, and I'm just playing my main smoking nothing. Anyway, y'all, we will see y'all tomorrow. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Thank you for all our guests that this morning. It was a whole lot of y'all. We appreciate y'all for coming through, man. But y'all keep it tomorrow. It is Friday, March 18th. You don't want to miss it. We will see y'all in mañana. Deuces, y'all.
Limousines, really think I'm seeing things. Read the line in between. Yellow light, I gotta speed up. Get home to a cold shower.